And welcome back to Hannity. So earlier today, during her interview with President Trump, Judge Jeanine Pirro asked him about the New York Times report that claims he asked Comey to pledge loyalty to him. It's ridiculous. Watch this.
People suggest that the question that apparently the New York Times is selling, that you asked Comey whether or not you had his loyalty, was possibly inappropriate. Could you see how they would think that?
I read that article. I don't think it's inappropriate. Number one,
did you ask that question?
No, I didn't. But I don't think it would be a bad question to ask. I think loyalty to the country, loyalty to the United States is important. You know, I mean, it depends on how you define loyalty. Number one. Number two, I don't know how that got there, because I didn't ask that question.
What about the idea that in a tweet you said that there might be tape recordings?
Well, that I can't talk about. I won't talk about that. All I want is for Comey to be honest, and I hope he will be, and I'm sure he will be, I hope.
All right, shocking. More fake news from the New York Times. Judge Jeanine will join us in a few minutes, but we continue first with the author of the brand new book, Understanding Trump, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich. All right, so if he says, are you going to be loyal to the country? And somehow, I mean, the fact that he has to answer this is ridiculous. Look, and secondly, the media is spinning that it's a threat. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to make two quick points, all right? First, two guys have dinner. One of them is the president, the other is the director of the FBI. They may have totally different memories of the dinner. They're now adversaries. The one guy fired the other. It turns out the guy who got fired has a bad memory and says, oh, gee, it must have been a terrible moment. There's no way to, this is just child stuff. But second, I was thinking about this during the break, Sean. I went back one time and read the transcripts of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt's first press briefings. Here was his rule. They were all off the record. You could quote a senior White House source, but never him. And anybody who broke their confidence, if he said it's off the record, was never again allowed in the press briefing. That's how he started the very first meeting with the press after he became president. There's a pretty good lesson there. Donald Trump is not the chief entertainer of the United States. He's not the chief wrestling match with the elite media. He is the president of the United States with a big job and some very big goals. And what they ought to do is get out of all this junk. They ought to focus on the big goals. They ought to report to the nation on the big goals, ignore all these reporters, close down the press room, send the reporters off. They can sit over to Hay Adams. They can go to Starbucks across the street. I don't care where they go. These people are not committed to the truth. They are not committed to being neutral. And why would you hang out with a bunch of people who despise you? I mean, just get over it and create an entire new tradition of reporting directly to the American people, not reporting to these guys. And maybe say to the American people, send in your questions. We'll take the best 5 questions and we'll answer them by name. So Sally Jones in West Virginia asked us this today. But get beyond the elite media and treat them as the dishonest opponents, which is what they are. They are dishonest opponents pretending to be reporters.
You know, I love this idea so much that I think the media will implode. They would not know how to deal with this. Yeah. And I'm beginning to think this is real, that Trump's had it. I've had it. We're actually starting a new segment, Fake News Tonight, Roundup. And we're going to show every night the lies they tell.
Look, let's make a mutual commitment here on the air so people know how serious we are. If they're willing to kick them out and they all go to Starbucks for the next year, you and I will lead a program to raise the money to pay for everything they buy at Starbucks for a year, just to show that we're not against them as people. We're just against their profession. How's that?
You know, it kind of leaves a little sour taste in my mouth that I have to buy people I really have no respect for, coffee and donuts. I'd rather give it to people that are more deserving. But if you insist, I'll consider it.
It's a sense. It's a sense of generosity.
You know, at times you have been. I've known you since 1990, and at times you just have this historical perspective that nobody else has. Tonight is game on. Good job. Thank you for being with us.